As a director, I believe it's my job to put a skeleton together. It's the actor's job to put the muscle and the skin on top of it, and that's what creates the holistic piece. So it's been a joy watching just some of them really explore what that means, and others who are coming back to theater for the first time, or some of them it's their first time doing a piece of theater, watching more experienced actors as well, just kind of seeing them and going, oh, okay, that's how I can try this. You see growth all the way up until opening night, and it's a lot of fun.
Good evening, and welcome to Art After Dark, where you get to learn all about arts and culture in West Texas, and I get to live out my Dick Cavett fantasy. I am Randy Ham, Executive Director of Odessa Arts, and I'm so glad tonight to have Adam Sahli, Managing Artistic Director for Midland Community Theatre. Adam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Randy.
Well, I do want to start out by mentioning this is our first ever conversation.
Yes.
So that's really exciting. It's exciting for the show, but that means you are just ripe for all kinds of information. So how have you adjusted to Midland so far?
It's been great. One of the biggest things is, the high heat.
Yeah.
I grew up in South Dakota, so one of the things that I've kind of made my calling card is telling people, like, growing up seeing flat land and open sky, that's not new.
Right.
But I actually grew up in some of the northernmost swampland in the United States. So
There are swamps in South Dakota.
yeah, a lot of marshland up in the northeast corner. So
Oh, wow.
it's funny. We're not. It's not unheard of for us to see, temperatures in the like 102, 105 in August, but the humidity sits at around 80, 90%. So I've enjoyed the dry heat. I think it's funny when I talk with a lot of, native West Texas residents. They're like, if one more person says it's not the heat, it's the humidity, I'm going to kill them. And I'm like, but it is?
Yeah, it kind of is. It kind of is. That's very true. Well, you've been here now for how many months?
About 3 months. So got here and started the very beginning of June.
Okay. Well, take us back. Let's hear your origin story.
Yeah.
How did you get from South Dakota to Midland, Texas?
Yeah. It's always really interesting. So I grew up in a family that was not into the arts at all.
Okay.
My dad was a football coach, wrestling coach. That's what I did growing up. So actually the West Texas culture is something that I'm very familiar with.
Sure.
But I kind of found theater late, and it was with my dad being a coach and a teacher. I'd go into the library every morning after I'd ride into school with him and stuff. And one day I was just kind of sitting, singing to myself. And the music teacher was walking down the hallway, and she'd known me my whole life. And she comes in and she's like, "Adam, was that you?" And I was like, "Yeah." I thought I was being too loud or something in the library. And it was, she kind of grabs me and she's like, "We're going to go talk to your dad." And I was like,
Oh, God. What'd you do now?
Yeah. And it was instantly like, he needs to be in choir. And so she talked with him. I tried choir for the first time, fell in love with it, did theater, fell in love with it. And it was something that was so different. Unlike football that I had been doing my whole life, theater and arts didn't come naturally. I had to work a lot harder than I ever had in athletics.
Right.
And it just drew this passion in me that was incredible. And so despite coming into it late, I was a sophomore, junior in high school when I did my first, theater production. I fell in love with it and got very lucky that I was able to get a scholarship to do it right out of high school, and initially went up to North Dakota State, where I could get a scholarship for both football and theater. And then I ultimately kind of got hurt, couldn't do football and athletics anymore, and serendipitously it kind of really made it, well, guess I'm driving everything
Just pivot, right?
into the arts. So that was wonderful, and did that. Finished my undergrad with a BA in musical theater performance, and then went and got my MFA in theater direction. And was lucky enough, I've been lucky enough to work professionally throughout the country, internationally. Spent a lot of time in Minneapolis, worked with the Guthrie Theater, went to California, worked with Berkeley Repertory Theater out there. But then my wife got a job in Indiana. And so from Minnesota, we moved to Indiana. And I took over as the artistic director of a theater up there called the Round Barn Theater. And that was great, gave me a lot of experience and everything. But then I saw this job posting on Art Search.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things that I was like, oh, Midland, Texas, I need to look this up. And as I did my research into Midland Community Theatre and everything, I was just kind of caught off guard in the best way to see one of the largest, most successful community theaters looking for a position like what I want in a community that reminded me so much of home. It was great. Again, I've been very lucky to work professionally, but my goal and my love of arts was never about recognition. So coming in and being able to now take a leadership role in a community theater and provide to a community what I looked for and what changed my life for all of the best reasons is incredibly rewarding. And there's times that I still just kind of wake up and pinch myself going, I never knew this was everything I ever wanted.
Yeah.
And it really is.
Isn't it great when you can kind of, so many people have a specific career path and they know this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. But that's not everybody. And sometimes you stumble into the successes of your life.
Yeah.
And it's really wonderful to be able to wake up, in the morning and go, oh God, I can't believe I get to do this.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things is, you find this love of theater and you want to do arts, right?
Yeah.
And we're driven into this mindset that you have to go live in New York City or
Right.
LA.
Yes.
And I think that is the thing that was always the part that caught me. And still to this day, I'm like, no, I don't have to do that.
No.
I can create and give art at the highest level and do it in the type of community that I want to live in, that I want to have my family in. So it's wonderful.
Right. I mean, not only, art has no borders or boundaries. You can create anywhere and you will find an audience anywhere. And also when you look at those, those hubs of creativity that people look to as goals, the New Yorks and the Los Angeles and Atlantas, there's, 500 or more people competing for the same space.
Yeah.
As you are, and in a place like the Permian Basin, which has a very rich cultural history, but there's so much space out here to be able to give everyone what they need in terms of support and audience and everything to be able to create.
It's one of those things. And again, the growing up in South Dakota really feels so much at home here. Because we're relying on each other.
Yes.
It's not that you can just turn the corner and go to the next theater or the next art gallery and find something. We have to be relying on each other. We have to connect. We have to network. All the industry terms. But what it really comes down to is, for me, it's humanity. It's this beautiful thing where I love that I grew up throwing, dummy blocks, as we call them up north, hay bales for farming and stuff, or that I grew up around ranches and all of that. And it was one of those things that working professionally, so many of my friends and colleagues came out of New York City, LA, Minneapolis, and they're like, what's a silo?
Right.
Hay bales? So it's so fun to come back to this area and be able to work right alongside people who, in the community theater especially, they're not working artists, but they love it just as much as somebody who's a working artist. And they work so hard to be able to take their free time and give back. That is the greatest feeling and reward in the world.
It really is. And for you to be able to, guide them and shepherd them into what the potential that they have and give that to the audience and to the creators. But I just got to say how much it warms my heart that you were discovered in a library, because I was a librarian before I did this.
Yeah.
And that, you came from the world of sports and into the world of arts, because, there's this fallacy that they're diametrically opposed, and they're really not. And so many of our students here that play sports also play the piccolo or, sing in choir or something like that. And it gives you a well-rounded skill set and experience. Sports is just as important as arts, but arts are just as important as sports. And they can lead to creative decision-making on the field.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. On the field or in the field.
Right,
Either
exactly.
one.
On the field or in the field. I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me about your first few months in Midland. And I'm sorry, I can't remember. Have you actually directed a show yet?
Yeah, so Dirty Rotten Scoundrels opened last weekend.
Yes.
And so that is the first show that I directed here in Midland. So that's been exciting, and it's been incredibly well received. It's just one of those things. It's been so rewarding working with this cast. They're so giving of themselves, and I have a tremendous cast from my leads down to my ensemble. They're just so fun to watch them discover and play, and that's a lot of what I like to do as a director. One of the first things I said to them, and it's kind of another one of those mottos of mine, is as a director, I believe it's my job to put a skeleton together. It's the actor's job to put the muscle and the skin on top of it. And that's what creates the holistic piece. So it's been a joy watching just some of them really explore what that means, and others who are coming back to theater for the first time, or, some of them, it's their first time doing a piece of theater, watching more experienced actors as well, just kind of seeing them and going, oh, okay, that's how I can try this. And you see growth all the way up until opening night, and it's a lot of fun. As far as my time here in Midland and with the job, it's been very busy, to say the least. But it's a lot of fun. Beyond that, my family and I have enjoyed getting to see the Permian Basin. We've become members over at the Petroleum Museum and Museum of the Southwest.
Sure.
My kids love it. So it's a lot of fun. I'm just kind of, again, in awe. It's amazing for us at MCT to have both our Cole Theater and the Yucca. And so we've had, we closed Summer Mummers right before we open Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and I think I have 6 of my 15 cast members are also cast members in that, so they've been pulling double duty during it.
Man, I remember that when I was in the Kaleidoscope Company at the Permian Playhouse, and the first time I got to do, I was cast in one of the KC shows, and then I was cast in one of the adult shows, and so I was pulling double duty. And when you're doing that at 16 and 17, number one, you have the energy to do it at that age, and two, it feels like this rite of passage of I'm with the cool kids now. I'm in a big boy show. But it's community theater, I think, is one of those things that when you are fortunate enough to be raised in it, it really does get into your blood, and it is a fabric of your everyday life, whether you're in a show or not.
Yeah.
And I had as many wonderful experiences working backstage as I did on stage as well. So you started with musical theater. You started in choir, and then you got involved in musical theater. What was your most memorable musical theater role?
Yeah, the one... It's funny. I'm very much one of those people that I always knew I wanted to be a director. As an actor, I get in my head, and I'm directing myself the whole time. And I've had so many of my mentors and directors who are like, Adam, stop directing yourself. And it's so funny. But the role I always say I'd go back to is Tata in Ragtime.
Yeah.
I love doing that. And, it's this beautiful story about a Jewish Latvian man who brings his daughter over. My grandparents were Latvian immigrants during World War II. So it was this beautifully serendipitous piece and speaks to my culture. It's another one of those things that is so great about theater is we get to celebrate and share parts of ourselves. And, Latvians, most people don't know that there's a country called Latvia, let alone, where it would be on the map or anything like that. So to be able to touch on that and go into speaking with a dialect that I heard my grandparents speak growing up. Um, it was just so fun. And then it's a beautiful piece. I love Ahrens and Flaherty, who are the composers. Anyways, so it just kind of is a perfect piece to me.
Well, it's just a perfect piece, not just to you. I mean, it really is.
Yes.
It's fun. It's one of my favorites as well. Is there a particular show that you haven't directed yet that's on your bucket list of like, this is the goal of mine?
Yeah, I can answer that, several ways. So I would say there's a musical called Golden Boy of the Blue Ridge.
Okay.
And it's kind of a loose adaptation of Playboy of the Western World.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just really fun. It's set in the Ozarks, Blue Ridge Mountains, all of that. So it has this nice dialect to it. It's a very bluegrassy piece. It's just a lot of fun. And for as much as I enjoy doing large-scale musicals, the intimacy of being able to do smaller scale and get the audience right there, it's something that is so often lost in the theater.
Yeah.
Is musicals go up on big stages, plays go up on small stages.
Yes.
The inversion can always be just as much fun. So that's a big part of it. A play that I am going to do everything I can to produce here in West Texas is Giant. There's a musical version of it. And when I flew in on my initial for my initial interviews here, I'm just staring down at it and I'm like, I have to. Elia Kazan is my favorite director of all time. James Dean is one of my favorite actors of all time. So I've always known Giant and Marfa and all of this. And then just flying in and looking at it, I'm like, we have to. There's no reason not to. And the biggest thing is when you're trying to do it on a traditional stage is how do you have an oil derrick erupt and then dance on top of it? Well, we're very lucky that we have the LED screen.
I was going to say, you have the stuff.
Yeah, I can do all of it and still keep it clean. And, if we had to, we could do tap right on top of it. So.
That's amazing. And then, of course, come back to the Five and Dime.
Yes. Yeah.
Ed Grazik, it would be a great little 1-2 companion piece. I love that show too. Have you been to Marfa yet?
Not yet.
All right, you got to do it. It's an amazing place.
I think beginning of October, I have a trip scheduled out there.
All right.
So
good.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. Well, all right. I have to, just from a personal standpoint, we're going to have to talk about Stephen Sondheim.
Yes.
Because he is absolutely my favorite musical theater composer.
Yeah.
And I've only been able to actually act in one show. But I don't know that I would ever want to do one. I love witnessing them.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific Sondheim piece that speaks to you?
Yeah, they all kind of do. So it's really interesting. With my background coming into musical theater first, I enjoy it, but I really enjoy acting more than even musical theater.
Okay.
The whole thing with Sondheim to me is, I think in his works, there is more room for growth and character development acting-wise than any other show.
Yeah.
No other lyricist composer gives as much to the performance as he does, and it's this beautiful thing. So there's a lot of them. The top two are always Company. I just love it's such an amazing ensemble piece, and the role of Bobby is enormous.
Yeah.
But that ensemble carries so much, and they tell so much of the story. And then Into the Woods is the other one for me always. And it's because as I get older, the more it clicks with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's always something that's so interesting. Growing up in musical theater, getting first exposed to it in high school and stuff, I could relate instantly. Every stage of my life, I found new characters that I relate with more.
Right.
And now I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old for sons. And I certainly hope I'm not an old man yet, but more and more you feel it, right?
Right, yes. Yes, you do.
But, you hear the song No More or something, and just talking about the mistakes we make as human beings and trying not to project that onto another generation. Being a parent or not, it's so universal. And it's just these, I think that's the thing that Sondheim does so much better than anybody else, is he talks to the the universality of being human.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's just stunning, and I could, talk for ages.
A lot of people would think it hyperbole, but when he is called the American musical Shakespeare, I'm like, yeah, yes, he is. He absolutely is. Company is also my favorite for many, many reasons. As you can see, the aesthetic here, I absolutely agree. You can click on a specific character, and it's always a different one every time you watch it or you listen to the cast album. I love the idea of the gender bent production that they did. Although, if I were to ever do a show again, it would be Company, and I would do the gender bent Joanne.
Yeah.
Just so that I could sing Ladies Who Lunch.
Yes.
But Into the Woods was the first or the only Sondheim show that I've actually done. But to me, and it didn't click with me until I got this job 10 years ago. And then I watched Sunday in the Park with George for the first time. And just all of the conversation about art and creating and commerce and audience and, all of that stuff. It just, when I'm having like a really stressful time, I will just go watch George paint and sing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Everybody goes through this, right? Yes. But yeah, Sondheim's just the best.
Absolutely. Well, and I think the other thing that's always so funny is the direct timeline of American musical theater that you can track through him.
Yeah.
From his own studying under, Hammerstein, and then, his training of Adam Guettel, and then the huge influence he had on Jonathan Larson. It's just this, everything he touches impacted what American theater is.
Right. He has his fingerprints all over everything that's even being done today. Yeah. It's phenomenal. So let's talk a little bit about the current season at MCT.
Yes.
So you just opened Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Mummers just closed.
Yep.
So I know the Pickwicks are doing Midsummer Night's Dream, right?
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
So what does the rest of the season look like, and what do you hope to do for next season when you get to start?
So many things. The next play after Dirty Rotten Scoundrels closes will be the Pickwicks with Midsummer Night's Dream, and we're really excited about that. We have a new education team that have come in. So A. Chris Barton, who was our scenic designer for the past 2 seasons, has moved over to education. So we're really excited as he's kind of taking the reins there. He has an extensive background in education. So he was really excited to make that change. He was the first hire I made, was that transition. And we're very excited. It's the first time in, we believe, 30 years since the Pickwicks have done Shakespeare. So it's exciting. He's made the cutting. We're doing an immersive staging. So there are seats up on the stage, and we've built out the stage to go out and do a deep thrust into the Davis Auditorium. So we're very excited about that. It's going to be a different look, kind of, from what everybody's used to. And we're very excited to explore all of that. Then we're doing Driving Miss Daisy, and Carl Moore is directing that for us.
Good old Carl.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He is. And so we're really excited as we go there. And then closing the season is White Christmas, and Jane Moore is directing that for us. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I bet she's going to do a great job with that, too.
Yeah. She has such a subtle touch in what she does, and it's going to be... that's another one. I directed White Christmas about 3 years ago, and I think it's funny because it's a show that we remember the movie, we think of kind of the 4 primary characters, but there's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that I think Jane is really going to just, do a plum work with, is giving each of these characters their breadth of of character, and that'll lift even the 4 primaries even higher. So we're very excited. She has auditions for that at the end of September. But then going into the 25 season, most of those shows were already picked by the time I was coming in, but I finished off the licensing of that. So we're thinking that October 1st we'll be able to announce our 25 season. So
That's like now.
yeah,
I mean, it's coming up.
It takes everything I have, Brandy, not to tell you what the season is.
Well, if it helps, this won't even air till after October 1st.
Okay. Well, then I can definitely say that we've talked about one of the shows that will be in the season.
Okay.
So, I'm very excited for that. But no, we're already starting to think of what the 26th season is going to look like. And with that being the, 250th anniversary of America and all of that,
Yeah.
we're looking very much at shows that talk to what is the history of Texas, what is the history of America and its place. So it's exciting, and it's, that ever, arts never stop.
Yes, I can guarantee you are right about that.
So
It just clicked.
Yeah.
It just clicked. Ah, all right. I'm so excited. I have just been so thrilled with all of the things that I've heard and seen coming out of MCT since you started. Your arrival here has been a great continuation of the legacy of that amazing theater, and I can't wait to see how you put your own stamp on the community and community theater. I just can't thank you enough for being here tonight. And is there anything else that people should know about Midland Community Theater that maybe they don't know?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is I'm surprised every time that I'm talking with people in the community, and they don't realize that by almost every metric, we're one of the 5 largest community theaters in the nation. And that's something that what I really hope in the next chapter of MCT, and what my goal will be, is that it's not seen as just Midland Community Theater. One, I want it to be a place for the Permian Basin, but all of West Texas. We really do have a national gem. So as a state and as a region, I want us to be extremely proud of that. And that's the thing that I know there's a lot of pride there. But there can be so much more. And the biggest thing that I always say is just come see a show. There's a lot of excitement that's coming forward. One of the things that I can also, kind of quote unquote preview is with ACRIS moving over to education. We just hired 2 new scenic designers to come in. And it's because we have this beautiful LED wall. That as I was looking at the position, I knew that I needed to get somebody who could do the digital art, but somebody who could also do the practical art.
Sure.
And we had our top 2 candidates were 2 polar ends of it, but both amazing. And one's got a background as a TD and a charge artist doing painting. And the other one came from the video game design world. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, we're really excited about what the 25 season's going to look like, both from the physical elements that have always been there for us. But, ACRIS was a part of my search committee team to hire our new scenic designers. And he just goes, I can't even imagine some of this stuff that is being created digitally. And so we have this great future of blending what theater can be. We often get caught up in what it has been. And I don't ever want to lose that. My Dirty Rotten Scoundrels right now, I have periactoi, the rotating 3-sided Greek scenic design pieces going in on my request. But I love that. I can do that. Go back to Greek, mechanics of theater, and then have something as brand new as the LED wall. And I think it speaks to and allows us to be equitable in a whole new way. And that's one of the biggest things that is a passion of mine in the arts, is being equitable for all people. And so that is the other side, is I want West Texas to be proud of this amazing theater and organization we have. And I want to continue to raise up the amount of people who can see it and how they're touched by it. And that's exciting. It really is something special. And I'm so proud to be a part of it.
Well, we are very proud of the theater as well, and so happy that you are spearheading the next chapter in MCT. So, Adam, thank you so much for being here tonight. we'll have you back on to announce
Yes.
the next shows, especially there's one I really want to talk to you about. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.